And I want to give you a really simple way of learning to tell your story. It's called the 6-word story. I want you to think of 6 words that really are the key lynch points of your story, that you can hang your story on. It could be 6 individual words, it could be 3 pairs of words, it could even be 1 sentence. Probably the classic one in the Bible is the blind man that Jesus healed. His story in 6 words, I was blind, now I see. That was his story. For me, I've learned to tell my story around 6 couplets. And those 6 couplets are buried alive, answered prayer, on fire. These provide a framework on which to hang our story so we never really get lost in telling it. We don't go off rambling around unnecessary details. And we get to the heart of the matter quite quickly. So for example, when I tell my story, somebody asks me something about myself, often there's an opportunity just to respond by saying, tell you what, can I just tell you my story? And I start to tell them, you know, when I was 15, something really amazing happened to me. My sister and I had been digging this massive hole on the beach. It was 6 foot deep. The sand was stacked up to the side. My dad came to take a photo and the sides caved in and we were buried under 100 weights of sand. And that pressure of sand on my chest meant I couldn't breathe, and in a very short few moments I went unconscious. Thankfully they dug us out. No lasting damage, here to tell the tale. But here's the thing. At that moment, just before I went unconscious, something completely unexpected happened. I experienced the most amazing peace. I wasn't afraid, I wasn't anxious, I wasn't panicking, I wasn't afraid of dying. And in that moment, I didn't think through all of that rationally, but I knew I was experiencing something supernatural, the peace that came from God. You see, even if I died, I knew I would be with him in heaven forever. And that only happened because as a 12-year-old, I'd given my life to Christ. So I was buried alive at 15, but my story actually goes back to an 8-year-old little boy in bed at night time, longing to do better at school. And I prayed to come top of the class, a kind of really selfish 8-year-old prayer. Amazingly, that week, never happened before, never happened after at that school, I came top of the class. It was an answered prayer. God got my attention. So as a 12-year-old, when I got dragged away to a Christian camp by a friend at school, and I heard the good news about Jesus, that he loved me unconditionally. He had a plan for my life which I could join in with if I wanted to. That he had died on a cross for me so that the things that I'd done wrong could be forgiven. He took that punishment. That he rose from the dead so that I could be sure that not only would I have a fantastic life with him here on earth, but I would be in heaven with him. He'd broken the power of death. All of these things I learned over a few nights. And I made that very simple decision to give my life to Christ, to follow him and welcome his Spirit into my life. That's why as a 15-year-old, I experienced that peace. But you know, it wasn't until a few years later, till I was a 19-year-old, I'd left home, I was away at college, moved to the city of Bristol, I was able to really experiment with this amazing faith that God had given me, Christian faith, faith in Jesus. And I began to discover how he got involved in my life in very real ways, how he intervened in supernatural ways. I saw healings, I saw more answers to prayer, I saw other people's lives changing as they met with Christ. It was an amazing adventure. And the best way I can describe it is I was on fire. And I've been on fire for the last 44 years on this amazing adventure to discover, first of all, that he had led me into study medicine and have my own general practice with 3,000 patients at the age of 27. I mean, that was completely unplanned. Led me out of general practice into church leadership, which was another whole exciting adventure. And then leaving the city of Bristol, we'd been in for 19 years, to start a new church in Liverpool with a whole bunch of amazing people. And having been there for 27 years with so many different amazing things happening, I can say I have been on fire for 44 years and life's been the most amazing adventure. I don't know whether that makes any sense to you, but you know, I just wonder, have you got any faith yourself? Have you ever had any experiences of God? And that's really simply, in just 2 or 3 minutes, how I would tell my story and bring the conversation round to a spiritual topic. When you're ready with your story, you're never at a loss to know what to say when somebody starts to ask you about yourself.